this is what we are working with. You'll have to excuse how I look today, by the way. It's like a rainy day. I just want to chill out. I don't want to like get ready or anything, so excuse that. There's quite a lot to work with here, but I do have to consider that this is knitted. Knitting takes up less yarn than crochet. My first step is unraveling this entire thing, which I'm a little bit nervous about because I'm worried that I'm not actually going to be able to unravel it. I've already found like the seam on the inside here, if you can see. It's just like a typical seam. I'm not really sure how everything's been done though, and obviously this has been made with like a knitting machine, so I don't really know how to go about unraveling that kind of thing. I think this whole section though, I'm just gonna have to cut off, but then the only issue with that is that I worry it's gonna cut the yarn along here. I'm gonna leave this whole front section till the very end. The sleeves will be the easiest part to undo, and the back panel should be fairly easy. $13 from the Salvos, and we're gonna repurpose it. I can't even talk to you about yesterday. I spent a whole day unraveling 2 sleeves. I can't. I wasted this much yarn because I couldn't figure out for the life of me where to start unraveling from, and I just kept cutting the garment because I was trying to just loosen some sort of thread. Everything was so tightly knitted together, and then I realized halfway through this sleeve that the reason why I couldn't find the thread was because it's double knitted, so there's actually 2 threads that I'm looking for. So every time I went to start unraveling, I was like, oh my god, this other thread is pulling now, so then I would cut it. I totally forgot that knitted garments can be double knitted, and that means that there's 2 threads going at the same time. Once I realized that, I called in the reinforcements. I asked my boyfriend to help me. He complained only a little bit. This is what we have. So this is the one that my boyfriend did. It's actually like pretty tightly knit. These are the ones that I did with my machine. That's enough yarn for me to at least start on the top today if I can't be bothered to unravel everything else. This is what I still have to unravel. I've got the back panel, which will be really easy to undo. And then I've got the front panel as well, which still has the collar and the zipper and the buttons. The thing that I love personally about thrift flips is when you can clearly see the original garment in the new design. The character of it is still there. If I just completely unravel the garment and make something totally new, it kind of eradicates the journey a little bit. I'm just a very sentimental person in that way. I don't know who this garment belonged to prior. I also think that the whole purpose of a thrift flip is to make yourself a garment in as sustainable of a way as possible, and I think it would be such a waste to not use things like the zipper and the button fastening. Yeah, that's my little tangent. That's how I feel. So I'm going to design a new garment now. I'm going to screen record the whole thing, and I'm going to put it here so that you can follow along with me while I'm designing it. Hi Bonbon, what you doing, sweet girl? My senior cat, she passed away like 3 weeks ago. If you have lost a pet, you know that it is like such an immense different kind of grief. And literally like the week that she died, the cat distribution system kicked in so quickly, and my parents and I decided to take in another senior cat who needed to be rehomed. She is so sweet and such a little cutie, but she's just a little bit skittish. We do have a dog. He's really small. He's very gentle. She has this little bed up in my windowsill, and she just sits in there all day and just like every now and then like pokes her head out to see if he's around, and she's so cute. Anyway, the ribbing on this garment, I really want to maintain some of it. It's not that I hate doing ribbing, it just takes so long, and like why would I put myself through that when I've already got knitted ribbing, which is a lot stretchier and looks better on a garment in my opinion. I've decided that I'm going to make a top and a matching mini skirt, so I want to make a matching set, and I think maintaining this ribbing for the waistband of the skirt would be a really good idea. But also I kind of want to implement it into the waistband of the top as well. I love it when like tops have a cinched waistline, so I think I'm going to maintain the ribbing on both the front and the back panel of what I have left. I'm going to start drawing up what I have in my head. So I'll start with the top. So I'm going to use the waistband. It's going to be a very rough sketch, by the way. If I have the waistband down here like that, that can provide me with some sort of shaping, which is like one of the most important things of the garment. I do love a like slouchy kind of neckline, and I want to implement the buttons into to the top, I think. I want this to be like kind of slouching over the waistband. So I'll have it like a little bit oversized. And then I think this side can come up and then this side can kind of slouch down like that. I'm gonna put the buttons in the center here. I think it's 4 buttons. So it'll be long enough to have 4. If I do it this way, I can button it up and have it like closed. And then I can also unbutton it and have it like slouchier if I want to. That is an awful drawing of it, but you get what I'm saying. And then for the skirt, again, I want to use the waistband. I might just unravel the front panel because I'm gonna have to do that to get the buttons and the zipper off anyway. But if I can like maintain the whole back panel and then kind of stitch that all together to make a skirt rather than having to crochet an entire skirt, that would genuinely be a dream rather than having to undo the whole thing. That's a pretty horrible drawing, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm gonna draw it up properly now, or at least somewhat properly, and then I'll show you the final design. But that's kind of like what I'm thinking of going for. That's what's been in my noggin. I'm gonna do a couple of swatches of some stitches now and just see like what I think is going to look best. My boyfriend and I are going to go out for a little drive up to one of my favorite places. I just need to get out of the house more. I've been getting really bad anxiety when I leave the house lately, which is never a good thing. So that's like a little journey that I need to go on, but we're going to one of my favorite places today just so that I can like enjoy life again outside of my house. So I'm going to take the front and back panel with me and start to like unravel it while I'm up there just so that I'm still doing some sort of work. This is what I'm wearing. Very simple. This is a thrifted jacket that I've like tied up at the back. It's so cold in Melbourne at the moment. Also, I've done a little gauge swatch prior to leaving. This is what a half double crochet looks like, which I think I'm pretty happy with it. I feel like it's opaque enough and it still has a good drape to it. And obviously once it's been blocked, it will drape even better than that. I'm gonna go and do this little day trip and I'll take you guys with me. Pigeon. It's like sprinting. I have to pee, I'm not gonna lie. Why do I look built like that?
Look at Elon Musk.
Try and get my hands because I'm taking the buttons off and this is important to everyone at home. Ow! How am I gonna do this? So I'm gonna use this zipper in the skirt, I think. I'm not sure, it's quite long actually. These little flaps were sewn down and then because I unpicked it, they look like that.
You can just cut them off.
Oh yeah. It is raining. We should go. Hi there, I'm home now. I'm about to make myself a little wrap. I'm in my comfies. Yes, I am wearing a t-shirt with Bill Skarsgård's face on it. What can I say? I love a tall man with bug eyes. Just got back from my little outing. It's nice to leave the house and go somewhere that makes me feel reconnected with nature, even though the whole time I was just getting frustrated at trying to cut those buttons off. As soon as we left, it started absolutely pissing down with rain. Like, I don't think we actually would have realistically been able to sit outside during that kind of weather, but it was really nice. It was good to see the ducks and some pigeons. I love pigeons. They're like one of my favorite animals. I managed to get the buttons and the zipper off of the front panel. For the rest of the day, I'm gonna probably get started on the top. I tried to remove the ribbing the way I would with a knitted garment that I made using my Centro, because I have done this before where I have been able to remove excess yarn by replacing the stitch that it's joined to with a different stitch. I tried to do that with this, but I've missed quite a lot of stitches and it's now unraveled parts of the ribbing. You can see here where all those holes are. It started to unravel it and I don't really want to touch it anymore because I need both ribbings. I can't just undo the other one and hope that it works. I think I'm gonna do what you can see here, this little stitching along here. I'm going to do that on the opposite side and basically just work directly into the new stitches that I create and have this excess on the inside of the top where you can't see it. It's the only thing I can think to do. I have done a bunch of the top. I think I'm going to have to undo it and restart. I've done quite a few rows now and I feel like I'm definitely going to have to undo it. So I'll show you where I'm at. Also, look at how beautiful these flowers are. Hold on. My boyfriend always buys me lilies wherever he can. And every single time they end up being like a completely different color because he buys them when they're closed. And then when they open, it's like a surprise of what color they're going to be. Never seen bright orange lilies like this before. They're so pretty. I'll show you what I've done of this top. So I have managed to salvage the waistband and stitch it all together. The actual crochet top in itself has been a bit of a tricky one. Basically what I ended up doing last night after I had my little mentee bee was I actually got a needle and I got some thread of the same yarn that I've been using. I basically just like did one stitch over each of these ribs here and then I worked directly into them with crochet, if that makes sense. All of the scrap is still in here. You can see the back of the stitch that I've done. I am thinking I'm gonna have to undo this whole section here because the point of the top is to not be ruffly, it's to be just a bit slouchier, and right now it's looking like it's gonna be quite ruffled. I've restarted the top and I'm happier with how it's looking now. So this is obviously what it looks like upside down. I know it still looks quite ruffled, but it is a lot less ruffled than it was when I showed you before. The more rows I do, the less ruffled it will get. I will say it's taking me a lot longer than I feel like it normally would because I have my nails done and I literally never have my nails done. I feel like my hands cramp up so much quicker. It's just a lot more difficult to crochet with nails. I don't know if anyone else feels that way. I do really love them. Look at them. Can you believe that that's all I've done? It's Wednesday and that's all I've done. I'm lacking the motivation this week. The sun looks really good right now. Okay, I'm gonna get on with my life. I secured a blackberry iced matcha. I was really anxious this morning. Challenged myself to go to a cafe and order myself a matcha and some food. I almost didn't go in because I started freaking out that I wouldn't have enough money, even though I did. Just get in my head like I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna have enough money, and then it's gonna like reject my card, and then it's gonna be really embarrassing, and I'm gonna have to be like, oh, don't worry about it, and then I'm gonna have to run out and hope that nobody sees me. But that didn't happen. I just have to prove my brain wrong through repetition. Let's try it. That was really good, but all I got was blackberry because I haven't mixed it properly. I also got a cheese and tomato croissant. Anyway, I'm going to go for a drive to another river today. I don't know what's with me and rivers this week. I wanted to challenge myself to go somewhere and work from a different location. So I'm going to do that today because the sun is out. I think I'm going to eat in the car first, to be honest with you, because I don't really want to have to like carry my rubbish around. If I have too many things in my arms when I'm walking, then I get anxious. You know, sometimes when I like tell my boyfriend about like the things that make me anxious, he's like, that is like so ridiculous. I don't understand how your brain even thinks about that. Not that he's like an asshole to me about my anxiety. He's really good with it. Yesterday, I was feeling really anxious. And so when I went and saw my boyfriend and he asked me how my day was, and then I started like venting to him, something overcame me and I just like got really anxious and I started spiraling. I had all of these thoughts and it just like made everything 10 times worse. I intellectualize my feelings and my anxieties. So I am aware that they are silly. I know exactly where my triggers come from. Like I've been going to therapy for 3 years, but it hasn't actually changed how I move about my life. Somehow my anxiety has actually gotten worse over the years and I have all of these like obsessive thoughts that just keep going over and over and over again. I think of absolutely everything that could go wrong instead of like looking at the bright side. And that's just never been in my nature. Like I feel like I've always been a relatively like positive person. And I realized that while I love self-development, I genuinely think that self-development content and like manifestation content and all of that has been absolutely consuming every fiber of my being since I was like 17 years old. And so like having a bad day in my mind equates to me ruining my life. So when I feel a negative emotion, my brain then immediately goes, oh my God, we're about to manifest something so horrible. And then I just spiral even more, or I like push that feeling away and it just festers in the back of my mind and then results in more anxiety. I'm like now trying to make sure that I stop consuming self-development content. My brain latches onto thoughts too aggressively. It makes my whole life revolve around that one thing. When I told my boyfriend that yesterday, he was like, you do know that like your whole life doesn't change because you have one bad day. Like the world doesn't stop because you have a bad day. And like it's so obvious, but like when he told me that, I was like, Wait, what? I don't know, you guys. It's kind of crazy. I'm gonna eat my croissant and then I'm gonna go down by the water and I'm gonna crochet. I'm really excited to do more of this top, which is the whole reason that you're here. When I was down there was this girl with her dog and then this guy around the same age as her came over with his dog and then they started like chatting because their dogs were playing together, and I was just thinking, like, imagine if that's how they met and then in like 5 years time they're married. I really need to actually do this set, so I'm gonna go home now.
There is a life I lead in this city, hurrying to cut my teeth. I can take what I need to get by, it doesn't make it easy. The other piece of my heart moves slow, somewhere in the great unknown. When I return from the afterglow, will you carry me like I am whole again?
That's better. That's what you're supposed to have in your mouth, not this.
I can't let you take the bus. How was your test?
Oh, thank you.
3 years on tour. Oh yeah? There's also, you have a really nice smile.
The feeling is all gone. It's all gone. If I could take you back to my youth and show you what I wish I knew, my will is strong with a place to lean. In a moment I hung desperately. The other ring on my wrist is gold, pairing with the light it holds. When I return from my skin and bones, I'm remembering the words you told me.
The fact that this top is crocheted but then everything else is like hand sewn together, I feel like that is a bit of a win on my behalf. I was considering getting out my sewing machine a couple of times throughout this process, especially with stitching the ribbing everywhere. I feel like there were a lot of moments where I was like, maybe I should just get my sewing machine out, it'll be a lot quicker. But I do feel like I'm not the most confident with my sewing machine yet. I do really want to improve on it, but it was not the time to do that with this garment. I'm really happy that I tried to maintain the knitted structure from the panels rather than unraveling everything and crocheting a skirt. The only thing I will say is that I fear that over time this will unravel because it is a raw edge. I didn't do anything to like sew the edging shut. The good thing with tight knitting like this is that even when you cut it, it generally stays structured, but once I wash it, that's going to be a completely different story. That's a future me issue. Obviously the neckline is a little bit different to what I originally designed. I kind of wanted to be a little bit more asymmetrical and a little bit more structured, but because this yarn is quite lightweight, it is a little bit floppier. I feel like that's the only way I can describe it. It doesn't really maintain a lot of structure, especially because these buttons are quite heavy. I can obviously undo these buttons and then have this open, but I don't really want to flash you right now. But this is the finished set. I love it so much. Have a beautiful day. I will see you in next week's video. There's no need to bring it up. Nothing you say makes it better. Break and fall, tear apart.